Morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call the Highway and Building Committee meeting for Thursday, March 15th, 2018. I am now. No, I'm not. Have a roll call, please.
Mr. McConnell,
Aye. Here.
Mr. Tripp,
Present.
Mr. Lejes, Mr. Vickery,
Present.
Mr. Olthoff, Ms. Polk, Mr. Mulcahy, Mr. Hildebrand,
Present.
Mr. Einfeld, Ms. Weber, Ms. Evans, Ms. Peters, Ms. Parker, Mr. Ritter, Mr. Kinzinger, Mr. Wheeler, Mr. Lear. We have a quorum.
Okay, I don't see any public comments. I didn't get any public comments. Approval of minutes. You've had the minutes sent to you, or you have them. We need a motion to accept. Ms. Parker, second. Mr. Tripp. Thank you. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Mr. Rogers.
All right. Need a motion to open the bids.
Okay, you ready to do that then? Okay, we need a motion to open the bids as presented. Mr. Hildebrand and Ms. Peters. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you're on. There we go. There's Mr. Ritter. Is this going to be the same? He's not coming back up. Okay. Pardon? Is Miss Foley here yet? Miss Foley? She would. You're on.
Okay, good morning. The first proposal we have this morning is for Janier Road District, section 18-04-000-00-GM. It's for oil and chip work to be done in the township. Proposal I have this morning is from Grasso Construction Company. They have a cashier's check in the amount of $1,000 as a proposal guarantee. And they have an ATC attached. Grasso's bid is $25,562.00. $25,562.00. Next is Norton Road District, section 18-09-136-01-AS. I have two proposals this morning. First is from Hamann Wagner Excavating. They have a bid bond attached as a proposal guarantee. And they have an ATC attached. Hamann Wagner's bid is $102,306.38. $102,306.38. And last from this section is Toby's Construction and Cartage. They have a bid bond attached as a proposal guarantee. And there is an ATC attached. Toby's bid is $99,333.90. $99,333.90. Next is Pilot Road District, Section 18-12000-00-GM. Only proposal I have this morning is from Grasso Construction Company. They have a bid bond attached as a proposal guarantee and an ATC attached. Grasso's bid is $104,633.55. $104,633.55. Last is Pilot Road District, Section 18-12108-01-AS. First proposal I have is from Grasso Construction Company. They have a bid bond attached as a proposal guarantee. And they have an ATC attached. Grasso's bid is $102,990.00. $102,990.00. Next is Hammond Wagner Excavation. They have a bid bond attached as a proposal guarantee. And they have an ATC attached. This bid is $68,241.46. $68,241.46. And last is Toby's Construction and Cartage. They have a bid bond attached as a proposal guarantee. And they have an ATC attached. Toby's bid is $71,751.40. $71,751.40. So first, Geneva Township Road District, Section 18-040000GM. Parent low bidder is Grasso Construction Company with a bid of $25,562.00. Next is Norton Road District, Section 18-09136-01-AS. Parent low bidder is Toby's Construction and Cartage with a bid of $99,333.90. Next is Pilot Road District, Section 18-12000-00-GM. Parent low bidder is Grasso Construction Company with a bid of $104,633.55. Commissioner Fleischauer is here. Do you concur? Okay. Next is Pilot Road District, Section 18-12108-01-AS. Parent low bidder is Hammond Wagner Excavating with a bid of $68,241.46. Commissioner Fleischauer is here. Do you concur?
Okay, I'm gonna need a motion to accept the parent low bidder upon review. I need a motion to accept. Mr. Tripp, Mr. Hildebrand, second. Need a roll call, please.
Mr. Lear?
I think I raise this frequently when I see a huge gap between what was the estimate from the highway department and the bids that were put in. I'm sure that this will be examined again to make sure all specs are.
Yes.
All right,
We will
thank you.
review.
Bale. Roll call, please.
Mr. McConnell.
Aye.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Vickery.
Aye.
Mr. Mulcahy. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Weber. Ms. Evans. Ms. Peters. Ms. Parker. Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger. Mr. Wheeler. Motion carries.
Okay. Motion carried. Mr. Rogers?
Next, I have just a few pay estimates this morning. The first one is for our county general maintenance for 2018, payable to Compass Materials America. This is for salt that we purchased that's stored down at the yard, and that amount is $45,504.40. Next is for the county's general maintenance for 2018, payable to Kankakee Valley Construction. This is for coal patch picked up at the plant, and that amount is $1,390.35. And last is Kankakee Road District for their 2018 general maintenance, payable to Compass Minerals. This is for salt that was delivered to the township, and that amount is $4,620.08.
Okay. We need a motion to accept. Mr. Lear, need a second? Ms. Peters? Need a roll call on this one also, please.
Mr. McConnell.
Aye.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Vickery.
Yes.
Mr. Mulcahy.
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Weber. Ms. Evans. Ms. Peters. Ms. Parker. Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger. Mr. Wheeler. Motion carries.
Okay. The first resolution I have is a resolution appropriating county bridge funds for the repair of the Kankakee River Bridge in Roma Park. We discovered some damage to the deck. It appears that something very heavy was dropped on the deck. There's an area that we need to repair. We have no idea what happened. We had our structural engineer come up and take a look. He prepared a little set of plans for us to hire somebody to do it. I'm asking for to appropriate about $25,000 in county bridge funds to repair that. I don't think it's going to be that much, but just in case the area has grown or whatever since we've inspected, I just want to make sure I have enough appropriated for that.
Mr. Lear?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make the motion to approve that resolution.
Okay. Need a second? Second. Any other discussion? Any other discussion at all? Roll call, please.
Mr. McConnell. Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Vickery. Mr. Mulcahy. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Weber. Ms. Evans. Ms. Peters. Ms. Parker. Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger. Mr. Wheeler. Motion carries.
Okay. All right, the last thing we have is a resolution reappointing Mark R. Rogers as county engineer. You have that in your packet. I'm going to read that into the record, and then we can have discussion, throw rocks at him, or whatever you want to do with it. Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois. Resolution reappointing Mark R. Rogers as county engineer. Whereas a vacancy will exist on April 10th, 2018 in the office of county engineer in Kankakee County, Illinois, due to the expiration of a 6-year term of office of the incumbent county engineer Mark R. Rogers, and whereas the Kankakee County Board by Resolution 218-0109-3 dated January 9th, 2018 requests consent of the Illinois Department of Transportation to reappoint Mark R. Rogers as county engineer in accordance with 602 LCS 5/5/201, and whereas the Illinois Department of Transportation by letter dated January 23rd, 2018, did notify Kankakee County Clerk of their consent to the reappointment of Mark R. Rogers as county engineer, and whereas the county has elected to use the Illinois Association of County Engineers / Illinois Department of Transportation's recommended salary schedule to determine the county engineer's annual salary, and whereas the matter was discussed at the Highway and Building Committee of Kankakee County Board on March 15th, 2018, and the committee recommends the approval of this reappointment. Now therefore it be resolved by the Kankakee County Board that Mark R. Rogers is hereby reappointed county engineer for Kankakee County for a term of 6 years effective April 10th, 2018. Be it further resolved by the Kankakee County Board that the salary of the county engineer shall be 102% of the recommended salary of the county engineer to be determined annually by the Illinois Department of Transportation for each year of the 6-year term in office, plus all benefits provided by the Kankakee by the County of Kankakee and state statutes. Be it further resolved by the Kankakee County Board that there is hereby appropriated a sum of $89,771.66 from the county's allotment of motor fuel tax fund for the purpose of paying the county engineer's salary from April 10th, 2018 to December 31st, 2018. And be it further resolved that the county clerk is hereby directed to transmit two certified originals of this resolution to the district office of the Illinois Department of Transportation, adopted and approved this 10th day of 2018. I need a motion to accept this resolution, Ms. Peters and Mr. Tripp. Now, need a second for that, and then we'll have a discussion. Okay. All right, discussion. Mr. Kinzinger.
Thank you, Chairman. I noticed one of the paragraphs that states that we are using the Department of Transportation's recommended salary schedule. And at the bottom, we increase it by 102%.
Mm-hmm.
What's the rationale?
You're going 10. I'm sorry. I thought you were 9. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll answer that. We're increasing it by 2%.
Right.
So it's basically, I believe you were at 98%. They were paying you, you were 100, but previously you were at 98. So
No, I said 100% the last contract for 6 years.
okay, the last one was 100%. So you were exactly with the states. Okay, so we met on this and we talked. I thought at one point you were at 98, but maybe that's the range you have seen.
Yes.
That was it. There was a range you have seen anywhere from 98 to
120.
120%. So as the rationale is that as we have negotiated 2% raises with our collective bargain partners for that, basically that 5-year period as well, we have frozen most throughout these past 5 years. Most of the salaries have been frozen. That I thought it was relevant to give the 2% that we're giving to everybody else to the county engineer as well. Also knowing that this is not general fund, it's motor fuel tax paid for. So the rationale was to be consistent across the board as much as we possibly can. Obviously, there are a couple of contracts that aren't negotiated by the county board, but we tried to do the same with the county employees. This year we gave them 2% if they didn't get non-union employees, we gave them 2% if they didn't get a raise last year. So that was consistency's sake, if that answers the question.
Hang on.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Is that a fixed number every year, or does it increase at the state level every year also? So what?
I can give you a little history on that. The first year of my contract, I got a 2% raise. The next year it went up 2%. The next year it went up 1.5%. The next year it went up 1%, and this last year it was 0%.
So state raised it 0?
It was state raised at 0.
Thank you. Answer my.
Mr. Vickery.
This resolution is from April 10th to December 31st.
This resolution is for my appointment for 6 years. The MFT appropriation is just through this MFT calendar year.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Might add that Mr. Rogers has done a tremendous job in the highway department, given the funds that he has and the tweaking that he has to do because of the funds. He's done a remarkable job. Pardon? Oh, okay. I think it's on, but anyway, he's done a remarkable job. Any other discussion? Any other discussion at all? Okay, roll call.
Mr. McConnell.
Aye.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Vickery. Mr. Mulcahy. Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Ms. Weber. Ms. Evans. Ms. Peters. Ms. Parker. Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger. Mr. Wheeler. Motion carries.
Thank you very
Done
much.
for another 6 years. Yay. Congratulations. Any other questions for Mr. Rogers before he departs, or leaves, rather? Not departs. Any others? Thanks, Mark.
Do you want to do that now? It's on the agenda for.
It's not- Or you want, hang on.
Just a brief update on the State Line Bridge. I see the letter.
And that's motion to amend the agenda to allow them just
Are we doing that now? Okay, we need a motion to amend the agenda so we can include the State Line Bridge communication for Lake County.
So moved,
Mr. Tripp,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Vickery, okay. Want to address that? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Go ahead.
You want to take it or should I? Okay.
Who's
Um,
got it? You got it?
I guess I do.
Okay.
Chairman Wheeler forwarded me a letter that he received from the Board of Commissioners of the County of Lake, which I think is in your packet. Just a little history. Back in 1996, the State Line Bridge was inspected and found to be posted. We had to post it, and we had put together a set of plans to have it done some work done it, just not to replace it, but just to do some repairs on it so that we could get at least a 12-ton vehicle across it. And we had a letting here, and we had an estimate, I think, of about $150,000, and it came in almost double that. So we rejected, got a hold of the state of Indiana. They said that they thought that they could get federal funds to do the retrofit, and then so they took the lead. So we've been dealing with this for quite a few years. Finally, I think in around 2000, we had to close the bridge because it was structurally insufficient to even carry any vehicles. So the structure's been closed since 2000. If you read in the letter, and there was a memorandum of agreement attached to that, there was some discussions with SHPO and which is the State Historic Preservation Officer, and NDOT. They wanted to replace another bridge to the east of that bridge, which was bridge number 2. And so they finally came to an agreement and said, okay, we'll let the state of Indiana replace that one, but you can't replace the bridge over the state line, but you can retrofit it to and just do upgrades to it just to get whatever needed to get across there. An emergency vehicle is basically what they wanted. Apparently they had a letting, which I did not know about, on February 7th of 2018. We had an estimate, I had an estimate about 2.2 million. They say 1.8 million in here. I had in my budget to set aside 10% of that, 220,000. Well, the bids came in at 7.5 million. From one bidder. NDOT rejected the bid, and from what they're saying in the letter is they want to relet it on April 11th. And I believe that now Lake County is asking for a meeting of all the participants in the memorandum, which the county board is one, to discuss 2 options. And the 2 options are on page 2 there at the top of the letter. That the road remain closed, the bridge remain in place, and that the bridge remain at its present site without any effort or expenditure of monies for its preservation. Or the bridge is dismantled, inventoried, and stored so another agency can reassemble the bridge to be used in a public setting. I know this was a public safety issue back when this whole thing started. That's where it is.
And thank you for that history. You know, obviously, a few of us were here, but not everybody was here at that time to remember what had happened. And we did learn some things in this letter that, like you said, we didn't know that there was the letting and all of that. I had to go to this committee because I need your direction. We cannot afford the 10% of the $7 million price tag. That's a lot. In the it looks to me like Lake County is saying we just want to mothball this. We can't afford this either, but they want to relet it again, I believe, just to check, you know, to stick the toe in the water and make sure that that is a valid price.
I think that NDOT is going to relet it,
NDOT is, okay.
but I don't know that even Lake County wants to stop that reletting,
Right.
according to this letter. And I think that's what they want to sit down and discuss is, hey, we need to do something different here. And those are their 2 options that they proposed.
And it's, you know, the people in that corner of the county, obviously it's their concern is emergency vehicles, fire, ambulance, all of that kind of stuff. The next bridge is how far away?
There's one about 5 miles east of there, Route 41.
Okay.
And then the other one's in Momence.
Right.
To the west.
So there is an issue, but then there's also an issue with, you know, how much does it cost to take down a bridge and mothball that? We don't really know what that is either. It could be as much as the 200,000 we would We had, you know, that these are a lot of unknowns. So going into this meeting, I can bring back information, but I just want to kind of sense the tenor of what was going on in this committee. You know, where are we at? Do we want to pursue this, you know, and, or not? Do we feel, as Lake County does, it appears, that this is a project that is well beyond the bounds economically of what we can tackle? So.
Mr. Vickery?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Based on recall in previous meetings, the problem there is the various agencies have put so many restrictions on rebuilding that bridge. The contractor has to stay within the footprint of the existing bridge and cannot use any land to the east or to the west. So to move their equipment, to store gravel and materials, they have to make a long trek back to near to Route 114. And that was one of the problems. It added to the cost. They had to find a storage area not within that footprint to store all their equipment, material, and stuff. Okay, so that added drastically to the cost. So I just thought I'd remind the board of that was one of the issues when the issue came up originally. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Mr. Kinzinger? Well, now we gotta have an appropriation to buy a new mic. Yes. He just broke his eardrum. Okay, Mr. Kinzinger.
As probably the newest member on this committee, whenever I see the horns of a dilemma in logic, which are two options, keep the road closed or disassemble and inventory the
Close
bridge.
to the mic, Ron.
As the newest member of this committee and unfamiliar with this bridge, I see we have two options recommended, and that's usually a sign that there's a thought process breakdown, because there's always a third option. That we keep the road closed or we dismantle the bridge. I don't know how we're prepared to make an intelligent recommendation unless we're supposed to say, Andy, you can go, and maybe our county engineer go to this committee and see what the process is. But these are two distinct options, either or. Either or usually is not a good solution.
Any other comments?
I'll just say the other.
Hang on, just a minute.
The other comment that they had in here was the road to the south, and I know it's flooded 4 to 6 months out of the year, and they make that question whether, you know, is it economically feasible. The concern that I can think of and that I've been told other times is if we remove that bridge, there'll never be another one there. That was a concern, but it's up to the board really of what direction you want to go.
Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not on the committee anymore, but I've been here for quite a while since this bridge project's come up, and it's in my district. To start with, if we don't do something pretty quick, there's not going to be much of the bridge left, because there's been people out there scavenging metal off of it.
Really?
Oh, yes. The rails are gone and everything. And right now, with the high water, there is a bunch of logs up against it. My question to Mark is, if that bridge comes and it comes to the Illinois side, whose responsibility of it to get it out of the water?
That's a good question.
I mean, if it's in the state of Illinois, I can't see Indiana spending any money to get that out, and that's going to cost us a heck of a lot more money than $220,000 to get that bridge out of that water.
Yeah.
I would like to see
Go ahead.
to go and listen to see what they say on this bid letting. The chairman and the engineer go see what happens and everything. Maybe it'd come in a little bit less, but for safety reasons, and sheriff's not here, but I think he has a representative here. If you're out in the east end of that county and you're out in Sam Payton's district, in district number 4 by Pembroke, and you get a call in Grant Park, they've got to come all the way through Momence and go back up and go back to the east again. I hate to see it come to a dead issue.
Well, I think you're right. I think we ought to send the two gentlemen and see what happens. Mr. Vickery?
Mark brings up, thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Mark brings up a good point. I drove down there in my 4-wheel drive the other day, and I want to tell you something. I couldn't get to the bridge, okay, because of the water. I mean, yeah, I could have, maybe,
No.
okay? But let me tell you, there's a lot of water there. And I got just as far as I thought I could go, and I turned around. Thank goodness there was a spot there I could turn around. So really, what's down there is just a bunch of hunters, and there's a few residences that are underwater, or most of their properties underwater. And I couldn't get to the bridge from the south. So I think from the north you could. I could try that, but from the south there's just no way to get to that bridge right now. Not only is the bridge a problem, but that approach, as you mentioned, Mark, it becomes our responsibility, or a shared responsibility with Indiana or the counties there.
Just the structure. The highways belong to the Indiana counties. So it's Lake County to the north, Newton County to the south.
That, but it's just the idea of right now there's no access to the bridge under normal conditions
From the south.
Right, thank you.
Mr. Hess?
Thank you again. We just repaired, or Williams Ditch Bridge was just repaired with the thought of that had to be done before the state line bridge could be done too.
Yes, it was replaced. Yes, 2 years ago it was replaced. It needed to be replaced because there's actually, I think there's 3 residences between that bridge and the closed bridge. So, that bridge would have had to have been replaced either way.
Okay. Mr. Kinzinger?
So what we just heard is history.
Talking.
What we've just heard is history and a statement of the problem. What is this letter requesting us to do?
The letter's requesting a meeting, if we would be open to a meeting to meet. In the memorandum, they want to amend the memorandum, and basically that section of the agreement says any signatory of this memorandum of this agreement may request that it be amended, whereupon the party shall consult to consider the proposed amendment. And that's what they're requesting.
Okay.
When we go to this meeting, I'm sure the other parties would expect to have some sort of, at least, decision on which way we're going. Whether, I bring back information. I was kind of looking for what is the thought this committee has. Is there any parameters you want to put on the actions that we take? Or obviously we'd approve any memorandum of understanding, but in order to have a discussion, I needed to know where everybody's head was on this.
Well, my question would be, if it comes up with a $7 million price tag and we can't afford it, and we say no, what happens? It closes?
It'd be something where they say we want to let a bid to figure out how much it is to take the bridge down, so it doesn't just fall in. The water or there could be any number of things that come out of this discussion. But I know the people in that part of the county, and I think Mr. Hess and Vickery would like to see it open, but at what cost and under what terms? The viability of the structure is in question, as is the approach.
Right.
So is this a situation where it would be good money put towards something that could be useful, or is it bad money after bad money? That's kind of where my head is. I'm not taking a position because I don't know the history, and I frankly haven't been out there yet. I was hoping that I could get that perspective here.
Mr. Tripp?
Could they override what we do?
I don't know. If we say no, can they say no, you will do it anyway?
Or could they do the whole thing?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Well, right now, there's no joint agreement between Kankakee County and Lake County and Newton County for any of that repair. We would have to have an agreement in place. The statutes, the Illinois statutes say that we participate up to 50%. Well, if the feds are paying 80% and the local agencies are going to 50-50, that would mean that we would be paying 10% if they can use federal funds. Now, I don't know that you can use federal funds to take the bridge down, you know, so that would all probably have to be 50-50 local money.
So that's gonna have to be figured out when you go to the
Yes.
meetings or whatever.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Vickery?
After reading the letter, it seems that they don't want to do it. I think
That's what it sounded like.
that's the way I get it. And I think the reason for the letter is to have a meeting so that they get it out of the bid letting process. I don't think they want to spend $7 million. I mean, that just seems to me, you know, they want some concurrence with us that, you know, they don't want to move ahead with it. They're looking at shaking their head and saying, we're not going to spend $7 million. I mean, on that bridge.
Mr. Hess?
But that goes back to the agreement with bridge number 2. We agreed with them to do bridge number 2, and they were supposed to agree to do bridge number 1.
And in that, I think there were plans to actually replace the bridge and
Correct.
not just retrofit it for a legal load,
Illegal.
so a reduced tonnage load. So yes, so that was the deal that was made, that they could replace number 2, but they could only retrofit or rehab number 36 in order to do this. But that was part of the memorandum of understanding.
Mr.
Yeah,
Vickery?
thank you again, Mr. Chairman. And at one time, we did agree to spend, I think, $100,000. That just sticks in my mind that we, in some conversations here and everything, that when Jim came back with that agreement, we had agreed to spend, I think, or appropriate $100,000 into that program. But that was at a time when the bids, the apparent.
Yeah, the resolution was 2010-02-09-12, where we signed the memorandum. If anybody needs any history on that, I would have to go back and see what was appropriated, because there's no appropriation in that resolution.
Well, I think now we need to send the 2 gentlemen, they get the information and come back with all this stuff.
3, yeah.
I'm sorry?
3.
Whoever wants to go.
Mr. Vickery, you can join us too.
Yeah, I agree. Whoever wants to go,
I think Mr.
climb, get on the bus.
And he has ties to the fire department, the sheriff's department. I think he would be the appropriate
Okay.
member to go to that meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you.
Mr. Gadbois. We don't have anything to do, any motions or anything, okay. Okay, good. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. First thing I'd like to bring to light here, I received information from Lori Byers. They sell Freon, R22 refrigerant. All of our equipment in the county, all of it is R22 Freon. By 2020, it was supposed to be outlawed in the United States. They're now talking about extending that to 2030, but that's still questionable. We need to remember that the transition on every piece of equipment here will be a huge cost to the county. So replacing equipment as it breaks down would probably be a smart thing to start incorporating into our plan, our long-range plan. As it stands right now, 2020 is the deadline for R22.
Now, they do have a drop-in that has not been proven totally effective, but we'll see what happens when that comes around too.
Just that's FYI.
Yeah.
Okay. Facility report, I had 125 work orders for last month. That number was down a little bit, so that's a good thing. We'll go on to the financial report. If you look at your financial report, you see I've added some pages on to this. If you look at your front page,
There's service contracts per building, office and rent, miscellaneous, building equipment, and auto. So if you refer to the pages as you move forward, for example, building equipment, you will see exactly what I've spent at every building. And all these invoices are processed, and we'll go through service contracts. For example, all the filters we bought for the county this year, $722, I believe it was. A little over $700 per building. We just split it up between the buildings for the filters. So that's divided up equally.
Are these numbers correct? Because I think the decimal point might be in the wrong spot.
Well, those are invoice numbers.
Just invoice numbers. That's
Yes.
just not dollar. Okay,
Right.
got it.
So if you have any questions, I don't typically give you guys these pages and always tell you, but I just wanted to give you a heads up here. And you can take a closer look at where we're spending our money. PCS Supply is our provider of all the cleaning supplies, toilet paper, what have you, for the county. Precision Piping, of course, Langlois Roofing for their repairs. F.E. Moran is our sprinkler inspections and standpipe inspections for the county. And again, it's a better breakdown of what I typically give to you. So it's just another FYI. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. We had the county building inspected here last month by the fire department. That's an annual inspection that we do in every one of our buildings. And I received this letter from them the other day. An inspection was made of the above premises on March 1st, 2018. At that time, the fire department members noted no serious violations of the fire prevention code. We'd like to commend you for the excellent job of fire prevention that is being carried out on your premises and for your cooperation with us. If you have any questions, please let us know. That's a nice letter we got from them. Our buildings typically only carry about 10 violations and their emergency lights out, minor repairs that we make right after we get this fire inspection completed in all of our buildings. And this building this year was a 100%. So we're thanks to our staff for that. They did a great job.
Yeah.
Yes, very good. We'll start off with the building report here at 189. I met with the architect about the roof out here. We were getting ready to do the bid package. They'll be coming back here at 1:30 today to go over this. Here's the situation we're in with this roof. The roof was put on flat. We have no flow, and that's the reason for leakage. This roof, by code, has to be raised 8 inches for drainage on the ends and start running the water back down to those drains. That's why they're coming back here. The problem we're going to have now is all those curbs that the equipment's sitting on. There's 12 air handling units out there, or condensing units. All have to, a majority of them will have to be raised up, which will require some additional costs for the heating air conditioning companies to raise those lines up. And we'll get a better idea of this as we move forward. So we are meeting with them today at 1:30, and the architect will go over some of this, and I'll have better answers on it, but that's where we are. We do have the courthouse rotunda roof ready to go out to bid. We're going to try and go to bid at the end of this month, and then have these bid packages back for the April meeting to open and approve. So
Mr. Wheeler had a question.
Thank you. I just had a question. It occurs to me. Is there, and I know you couldn't have been here when this roof was done, or else it wouldn't have been done in the way that it was done. Is there a file when the last time this was done?
it was 22 years ago. I do have a file on it. In fact, I gave it to the architect, and he has all what was left of the files. I gave to the architect to review.
Okay, so we know what other architect signed off on that job
Absolutely.
at that point?
Absolutely.
All right, I'd like to see the file at some point. Thanks.
I'll pull it.
Well, it might not have been approved back then.
Right.
Oh, excuse me. Which one should that? 9? Oh, 8. I'm sorry. 7.
Thank you. This is something new, Brian, that the pitch has to be on the roof, or?
According to the new code, it's a 1/4 inch per foot is my understanding of the roof slope to the drains.
So it's not grandfathered in until we have to, I mean, any building that exists, you have to go and make changes, or because we already need to do repair?
Correct.
That now that we need to do repair, it has to be
It has to be brought to code.
Correct.
Once we tear that roof off, it has to be put back on per code.
Yeah.
Is my understanding.
Yeah. You touch it, you fix it. Yep. that's correct. Mr. Tripp?
That system is put in the tapered system of the insulation, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's where it's done. So the whole thing will have to come off. All the
whole roof-
insulation.
The whole roof's a ripoff. They've already told me that. That whole roof has to
Yeah.
come off.
Framed to
They're
make.
done in the
Yes.
insulation system.
And again, I'll have better answers, when we meet with the architect today.
Mr. Wheeler?
Just a question. There's always had to be a pitch on a roof, correct? You're not supposed to do flat roofs ever, right?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
I absolutely am not a roof guy, so
Always have
if I said
Yeah,
anything,
this
I would
isn't
be-
something
I
new
wouldn't be able to
that
answer
the
that.
actual rise of it overrun may have changed in the code, but
That's correct.
there's always should have been a pitch on a roof. is what
Yes,
I'm getting at.
absolutely.
Mr. Kinzinger?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Use the mic, please.
I've been involved in some of this. I've been involved in some of the stuff that Brian's talking about, and I'm not certain who the architect is, and I do not want to know, but there are certain ways of getting around some of this stuff, and if we have a roofing expert architect or somebody who does a lot of roofing, those need to be investigated. That's all I have to say.
All right, and I'll talk with him today about that. Mr. Vickery.
Mr. Vickery?
This roof's 22 years old, and it was probably done under those codes and those engineering aspects.
Probably.
We just went through this with a church project. I want to tell you something. If we're looking ahead 25 years, the life of a roof, there's no reason not to do it right. Okay, we can cut costs, but if you're going to make a 25-year investment here, I think we need to do something about the pitch on that roof.
Well, you have to if you're going to do
Okay, not only does that affect rainfall, but it affects snow. And recently, when we had a lot of this rain on top of a 6-inch snowfall, I mean, that water's got to get off that roof because it's going to come up over the flashing. So, I mean, I've only been involved in one of these projects. So, but after the exposure I had to that, when you're looking ahead at a 25-year investment, you've got to do it and do it right. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have to rely upon the architect and the roofers and whoever would do that, so.
We completed the 5-year standpipe inspection of this building and Jerome Combs Detention Center. That pushes us into the 5 years to about 2020 on our standpipe inspections. So we're up to code on that. We did have to make some more repair for leaks over here on this roof again here last week. With that rain we had, it was 3.7 inches, I think it was. We did have more leaks on the second floor, so we had to come over and make some other repairs until we can get on top of this. And we have cleared the garage for the upcoming election, and this next week I'm working with Dan Hendricks downstairs and his staff on helping them get through this election process with us. So we're working with them. At the Treasurer's Building, we're waiting to move the files. Those files are from the State's Attorney's Office, will be relocated to the VAC, but we're currently using the VAC to store voting booths so we can get the cars in and out here to pick up their election booths. So there's a process here we're going through. As soon as this election's over, we'll move those booths back into the garage and get the files relocated. We're working on that. The north heating unit of the Treasurer's Building has been on again, off again. The south unit is OOC. It no longer works, and I don't think we want to expend funds to repair it. I'll keep the north unit running as best we can. Once we relocate those files, we should be able to be okay with not. I got to keep it heated while those files are in that building, or they'll mold out on us. So I'll take care of that as we move forward. Last week at the courthouse, the old jail, and the annex building, we had a single phase ComEd outage. I got a call about 10 minutes to 3 that the courthouse was single phasing. I immediately went in and shut the courthouse down without permission from anyone. By leaving that courthouse running, we would have single phased all those motors. There is no single phase protection at the county courthouse. The switch gear is as old as the building. So that update is going to be very costly. So I shut the building down. We waited till we got word from ComEd that everything was back in order, and then we re-energized the building. I did that without anybody's permission, and I didn't even waste the time to tell anybody. We shut it down, and we did it for a very good reason. So If there was anybody that said anything about it, I'd take full credit for doing that. It was my decision and I made it. So
Good decision.
thank you. Again, that switchgear over there is antique, and
Wait a minute. I worked on that stuff.
I apologize. So that is something that needs to be considered. A new main switchgear in that building with single phase protection, because in the event we lose a phase here, that building, all those motors, the 3-phase motors in them buildings, all slow down to half speed.
And we don't have phase protectors on each one of them either, do we?
No, we don't. So the courthouse roof, again, around the rotunda, we're ready to go on that bid. I had both those trees removed that we had talked about earlier, both the north side and the south side, and the city's taking care of the curbs or the sidewalks and stumping that tree.
Let me ask you a question on that 3-phase, and can we put donuts on the line, and then when the donuts don't sense it, we can shut it down? Is there a way to do that?
I think there is, but I'll have to find out what the cost for that will be. The annex building, both those generators kicked on like they were supposed to. All the transfer switches transferred. Everything worked just like it was supposed to. But I will tell you this, the transfer switch at the annex building is the original transfer switch from 45 years ago. One of these days, it's not going to transfer anymore. It's just not going to do it. The thing, I can't believe it still operates. It's something else on a list that I have that needs to get replaced. It's costly, probably close to $10,000 to replace that transfer switch, at least. So it's something that needs to get done, and it's on a long range list. The old jail, as you probably heard on the radio, there was a fire at the old jail last Thursday night, 3/8 in the laundry. One of the laundry dryers caught fire. There was they were washing rags. A couple of them were shredded. As it turned out, rag caught fire. Lit the fire shot out of the ductwork on the roof. We immediately went there. Fire department was there, did a great job, put everything in order. More smoke damage than anything. We went back the next day. The roof vent had to be ripped off by the fire department, make sure we didn't have fire spreading through the roof lines. All that was taken care of. I immediately got a hold of Langlois Roofing, who capped and patched that roof. I got a hold of the insurance company. The appraisers came. We've met with all of them. I have 2 new dryers ordered and on the way. The laundry room was, ServPro came, did all of the cleanup that needed to get done for the smoke damage. I have all this approved through the insurance company again. We now had uniforms. There was about $11,000 in uniform loss. Shelving units I'll replace, and we're working on that right now. Everything's in order. Houlihan Heating and Sheet Metal's over there putting the new vent on the building now. So everything's put in order. We're hoping in less than 2 weeks we'll have that laundry back up and operational. We're currently moving clothing to Jerome Combs to stay on top of that. So the insurance company's been great with us, and as soon as we get this all updated, I'll let you know where we're at with that. We installed a video arraignment room at that jail, which cut back on costs through the sheriff's department for transporting inmates. I don't know all the details on any of that. I stay out of that area, but the video arraignment room was remodeled, if you will. We tore out some carpeting, added a few things in there, got Bruder Electric. They're now doing video arraignment between the courthouse and there, which again cuts back cost for inmate transport. So that's in operation as well. And I'll let the sheriff or Chief Calawinzu explain more if you're interested. Last night I got a call I don't know, I guess it was about 6 o'clock. We lost the inmate elevator at the old jail. They're telling me that the jack in the bottom of the elevator, the hydraulics is screwed up on this elevator. I have Kone Elevator coming here for an assessment. A little bit after 12 o'clock today, they'll be here. They'll take a look at this and I'll have a better idea what this is going to take to fix. From the sounds of things, if the jack's bad, this is going to be a very expensive fit repair. I don't think we can insurance this. I can ask, but I think this is just 45-year-old equipment gone bad. I'll have better answers on this again today after lunch of where we are and how we have to proceed. We're currently using the elevator that's on the administration side. It's a smaller elevator. We're gonna have to be very careful of weight loads of what we move. We move all the food up and down with that inmate elevator and inmate transport. So we're gonna have to be very careful what we do with that other elevator as we move forward, and I'm working with the jail chief as well to get through all that. Jerome Combs Detention Center, we had a water line break, 2.5-inch water line main, happened on a Saturday morning, started leaking. We pulled the insulation off. As it turns out, about 20 feet of 2.5-inch water line had 2 or 3 leaks in it. We had that cut out. We had to come in last Thursday night at midnight. They shut the water down, cut that piece of pipe out of there, replaced it. It's since been re-insulated and put back in order. So we got that working. C-dorm exhaust fan issues, we got that repaired. We have an ice inspection coming up April 9th, 10th, and 11th. So we're working on more updates that we need to get to with them. Our staff's working on all of that. I have to bring up the capacitors inside the battery backup system in phase 2. The capacitors currently provide the power. They discharge power in between the transfer from power loss to generator pickup. The capacitors, the original capacitors, Condisco came there and replaced the batteries. All that stuff's been upgraded and have recommended that these capacitors be replaced. They're currently 12 years old in the equipment. I have 2 quotes from them, one to put OEM equipment back in of $15,037, or we can put in replacement stuff at a lower cost at $11,049. This is something that has to get done. We can't let this go. This equipment, if we let it go and the capacitors fail, there'll be a blackout in between transfers, which the last thing anybody wants to see is them lights go off. So I'm gonna need approval to move forward with the capacitor replacement. And this is another project that
I would have a look at this one because OEM, people have replacements that are just as good as
yes, they do. Yes, they do. But it's $11,049, and I want to move forward with this.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Vickery.
Brian, what's your recommendation, whether OEM or the other brand?
Well, the equipment that comes out now is equally as good as OEM.
Thank you.
I mean, I would say we could go with the lesser quote and get the same project.
And I would concur with him on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Whoop, I'm sorry, Mr. Weir. All right, fine.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question, Brian. Are the warranties the same on those capacitors, the OEM versus the compatible?
Yeah, I believe they are. I think everything was the same, just the price and the equipment. I think everything else was the same. They come and do an annual. They do their annual on these things year in and year out. I have them come check those things every year, batteries and all that equipment. So I think it'll be fine.
Thanks.
Mr. Wheeler.
The MRO instead of the OEM part, is that something you can just check the market and see what's out there, get a couple of other prices besides the 11? Just a real quick, or we'd be happy to help out if you want us in admin.
Well, I only have 2, we only have 2 companies that actually do battery backup, Emerson and Condisco are our 2 companies. If there's others, I'm not familiar with them and I can look around, but they're the 2 that the county's used consistently since the jail was provided for. So.
Oh, I thought the MRO part, the replacement part that's non-OEM, is something that is commonly available on the market.
Oh, no. I think
can
this
only
is
be bought from them.
They're
user specific with what they purchase. They go OEM or we put these in. I think that's where that's at.
Okay. All right. If that's not possible, then you see where I was going, though.
Yeah,
If it's something
yes,
we
I
can
do.
Buy that out there, we check it, but okay.
Right. It's not something I can just go purchase the capacitors off a line and then give them to them to install.
you wouldn't do that.
No, they would. No company will let you do that for them. So, general repairs in the county and some things I have concerns about are the loop road and curbs in the courthouse. Loop road are growing progressively worse. The foundation wall on the east side of the building and the retaining wall on the south. The porches continue to deteriorate. And parking lots at 189 in Jerome Combs Detention Center, the cracks are opening up again, and those all of our lots need to be crack sealed, and striped. We've talked about this and put it off for a couple of years. And I don't know how much longer we can do that. If we're gonna, it'll start heaving the next, and the courthouse loop road is a prime example. It's heaving, it's starting to break apart, and this will continue to go on if we don't make these repairs. It's something else we need to talk about. I have paperwork from the last time it was done in 2010 at Jerome Combs. A complete redo was about $12,000 for Jerome Combs. That's not including these 2 lots and of course the one over at Asbury. So something else that's out there. Again, the roof around the rotunda, so we'll be working on. What else do I have? Mr. Lear, you had asked me about finding pricing from Precision Piping. We talked about that. In 2017, it was $12,095. Those repairs were not AC repairs. These are strictly water, sewer repairs that my guys couldn't make. No, backflow is another $3,100 a year that we have to do. There's 28 backflows in the county. Typically takes about $100 a backflow, runs about $3,100. I take that out of our vendor contracts, which I budget for at $96,000 a year for our vendor contracts. So backflows are included in that. But $12,095 was an expense for just repairs. Next thing, this one of these past snowfalls, about 2 snowfalls ago, the Silverado, which we talked about replacing, it's a 2000 with over 200,000 miles on it. The plow A-frame broke. So I took it out to BSI. BSI had replacement parts. They weren't the correct parts, but they went ahead and jury-rigged that plow for us so we could at least keep moving snow for the rest of this winter. In the meantime, he got me a price to repair with replacement parts for that plow was about $2,000. Now, I haven't done anything with this. We're using this plow very gingerly to just move some snow for us. Or we can replace the entire plow for $4,000, which can then be transferred to a new pickup truck in the event that we have the money to purchase one. This plow has to get fixed one way or the other. Now, I don't know where we are with this, and I certainly don't. I'm asking what it is you guys would like to see me do with this. I know what I would do, but
What would you do?
I would buy a brand new plow and put it on there, and when we get a new truck, we can drop it off there and put it right back on another Chevy pickup truck.
If we don't do that, then there's modifications you have to do when you buy the new truck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, I think we can get by for the rest of the season. There is a couple of more snowfalls that are supposed to be coming our way. I think we can get by through the rest of the season. But this is something that needs to be done. We can't do without this plow. So
We'll put that on the agenda for
future use. I'm just letting you know, and the BSI does a great job for us. They get us right in, they get us right out. They're very good. And his recommendation is replace the plow. So, and we'll get a full unit, and that'll take care of it. So, other than that, I think everything else seems to be, I keep saying everything's going okay. So,
I'm sure you've rescinded your retirement?
no, I will be officially leaving on June 29th. Will be my official last day
2020.
I haven't submitted a letter of
We're not going to
resignation.
accept it anyway. Mr. Kinziger.
While Brian's up there, you might, when you're talking about the elevator, they have pitless elevators that fit the same box. Depending on the cost of removing that elevator and putting in a new cylinder, you may ask about pitless elevators which use side lifts. See what the cost say.
Okay.
There may or may not be a cost savings.
Anything else for Brian? Anything? Done a remarkable job, and he is not going. He's not leaving, so we can just count on him for the next 20 years.
Yeah, look for me in July.
He's done a remarkable job, though. Remarkable. Any other questions? Okay.
Oh, one other thing, I want to commend my staff. These guys are working, as you well know, shorthanded, and they're doing a heck of a job keeping up here. I commend every one of them. They're doing the best they can, and we do have and Diane's going to send out an email for us. March 23rd, I have about 5 people going to CPR first aid training along with their OSHA 10 safety class that we're doing through KCC. I will be short-staffed on that Friday for their CPR first aid training class, and we're going to send out an email to let everybody know. There won't be any custodians in the building that day. So, keep an
Okay.
eye on.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, you're welcome.
Any new business? Any new, what do we, oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Fogarty. Thank you. I saw that. 'Cause I scratched that out here because I was, so we were gonna do that. She'll be over here. Okay. I'll put it over here. Yeah. Should have been on earlier. Thank you. I only need one.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of give you an update on what our ADA issues are and how we're doing with it. We're doing pretty well. Everything in green are things that we've completed. The yellow are things that are in transition, should be completed very, very shortly. And the red are some long-term things that we need to kind of work on. As you see, we signed the ADA coordinator, that's me. I've started the transition plan. The transition plan is something that's ongoing. It's not just something that it's ever changing. We add to it, we subtract to it. It's just as we go through and we notice things or we fix things or we find that we can make better accommodations, we make those changes within that plan. It kind of keeps track of what we're doing throughout the years, okay? The equal and effective communication, those are our sign language interpreters, our all the interpreters and hearing, so as well as mobility type things that we can call people in to help with. And those were all in place with the coordinator over the courthouse, Adrian Haley. She pretty much had those in place already, but we've kind of joined forces and together we have a running list of people that we can call for help for that. The next thing is that we devised an exit plan to include people with disabilities. If they're in the courthouse, how do we get them out? How do we know that they're there? That kind of thing. We have that exit plan that has been approved from the Attorney General's office. And we've also decided what kind of equipment, evacuation equipment, we're going to purchase to put into the courthouse and install. Right now, there's a little bit of a miscommunication. Andy thought I had bought them. I thought he had approved it. So this week we're going to get on that and get everything ordered and get it in and get it installed into the courthouse and get the trainings done for the staff so that they know how to use the evacuation equipment should somebody with a mobility disability be in the courthouse during evacuation. Okay. We devised a plan as far as if somebody is in a court proceeding who needs to use accessible restrooms, how do we get them there? You know, how do we let somebody know that they need to have that accommodation, that kind of thing. Again, it's going to be some training that's going to be involved in that as far as with the bailiffs, if there are bailiffs. I know some of the courtrooms do not have bailiffs, but we've got that in place and it was approved by the Attorney General's office. Okay, Brian, thank you very much for you and your staff for helping me. We had this last couple of weeks, we finally got the signage in for all the restrooms in the courthouse. And the problem was that there's 15, 16 bathrooms in the courthouse. Now, some of them you don't know where they are because they're in judges' chambers and that kind of thing. But the only ones that are actually accessible are the 106 and 106C on the first floor. So we had to go and replace all the signage on every bathroom so that it had Braille next to it, and then also put routing signs in and informational signs saying where those accessible restrooms are located. Should somebody be in the courthouse and they stumble upon one of these restrooms that are so not compliant, they know where to go to find a compliant one. And Brian and his staff had helped me, particularly Bill, hang all those up the last couple of weeks. So thank you, Brian. Okay. We finally got done with our brochure. It's been printed. I should have grabbed some actual final copies to bring out today, but we do have it. It looks nice. It was approved by the Attorney General, so that's taken care of. We got to put some into the courthouse. We're gonna hang some hangers on the wall so when people come in, if they need to figure out, you know, where and how to get accommodations, that kind of thing, it's all in that brochure. Okay. The circuit clerk's office. Okay, there was a door that was non-compliant. It was not wide enough. It was one of the double swing doors. that was replaced by Brian and his staff. I believe it was the end of December, beginning of January. That was taken care of. And as far as the floor space was concerned, there was just some things within the floor space where the counter is for people with disabilities to access. It was just a matter of kind of moving some things around in there. So that's taken care of. Baselit toilet rooms. We kind of overlooked the signage there. We just need to order a couple signs because we have the signage on the other floors stating where the accessible restrooms are. We did order signage to replace the current signage, but we did not have the signage saying where those restrooms that are accessible are located. That's a matter of just ordering a couple signs and getting them put up. So that's, again, it's an ordering issue. And then the accessible restrooms, which are 106 and 106C on the first floor, there's just a few things that were not quite compliant, which they're small things. The main stalls that are for wheelchair users, they're supposed to be self-closing. After you open them, you get in, they're supposed to self-close. And that's just a matter of buying a little closure that goes on top of the stall where the hinges are. And then adjusting the pound and force on the doors, that the entrance doors to both the restrooms, that they're too heavy right now. As far as, according to ADA, someone goes to push or pull them open, they're too heavy. And that's just a matter of adjusting the door as well. So those two things would be, once we get the closures in, it'd be something that'd be done right away. Of course, the parking lots, Brian took care of that a long time ago. It was back in October, I believe. The parking lots were restriped and accessible parking was assigned and the proper signage was hung at the proper height. The two big things that we have are the ADA compliant ramp that needs to go in. We plan on running it from the rear of the courthouse up the side of the east side of the courthouse to the front. Okay, we need new plans and we need new estimate for that. The other estimate we have or had been several years ago, and it was not the same route that we were going to take now. And then also the remodel of courtroom number 204 to be completely accessible and ADA compliant. Those two things we're going to get estimates on, and plans and estimates, and they're supposed to be done by September of this year, which is, for large projects, that's not much time. So that being said, what I would like to see done is I'd like to try to form a subcommittee as far as with these ADA to make, get these main two projects done. There are very, very many more issues that are in from the state's attorney's or the attorney general's office that said we need things need to get fixed. But once this courtroom is put in and everything's accessible, and once the ramp is in, those other things will all be taken care of. They'll go away. Those are the two main things. Just like the bathrooms, we had, 34, 38 action items on bathrooms. Well, once the totally accessible restrooms were put in and the signage was up, those went away. It's going to be kind of the same thing with the ramp and as well as with the accessible courtroom. Once those things are done, these other 40, 50 line items will go away because it'll be taken care of, it'll be remedied by replacement of the ramp and the remodel of the courtroom.
Okay, Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to kind of wrap up. By the way, great job. Appreciate all you're doing on this. It's very meticulous. We have to document everything we're doing. The photos of the signs have to be sent to the Attorney General's office so they see, like with a tape measure, showing exactly where stuff is, so they don't have to come here and inspect all this stuff. The other thing is by this next building and grounds meeting, everything on here will be green except for that last item. Now, to the point, we don't have an architect drawings, we don't have current costs and all of that kind of stuff. We don't even have a current funding source. The Attorney General's office seemed to think that the ramp was going to be the most costly part of this, which kind of shocked me. We always thought the courtroom would be the most costly part of this, and I think that people that were here, we were kind of told that on the board at that time that it was going to be in the millions. We might be able to just, don't hold me to this, but we might be able to do this for under $1 million, but that's still $1 million we don't have. Okay, so I'm working on that part of it, and there are some things that may allow us to be able to do that, but I don't have that definitive yet. So I think a subcommittee will help keep us focused on that. But we will need to identify an architect, which there are people that specialize in this stuff. As I told everybody before, be prepared. This ramp is not going to be something that is going to be just the most beautiful ramp you've ever seen. It's going to be what we can afford. And then when we do have money, we can always rebuild and do another something more permanent that will last as long as we can have that courthouse. So I want to prepare the public for that and everybody else, because it is a historic structure. We can't mess with the structure, but outside of that structure is we're going to have to make do. The inside will do it right. You know, obviously we want to make sure that the judge that has courtroom 204 would expect nothing less than to make sure that this is done exactly the way it should be. So I wish I had a better answer than that right now, but we got to find out what it costs and the mandates that we're operating under in 204 to make sure it is fully accessible, not only for the public, but for a juror, for someone who wants to, you know, a defendant, a prosecutor, a judge who needs to have accessible accommodations within that courtroom. The good thing is that these date certain things, I've been assured and by the state's attorney, or by the attorney general who met with me and the state's attorney, their representatives have said, once this is done, you guys have complied with what we need to have you do, as long as you have a transition plan to address everything else. Does that make sense? So basically, we're not out of the woods, but the lawsuit will probably, we are told this will conclude the action by the Attorney General's office, unless something else happens that we don't comply with. That makes sense. So.
Any other questions for Ms. Fogarty? Any other questions, comments, or anything? Anything for you?
Volunteers for the subcommittee?
Oh, subcommittee.
Please, please
If
help
you're
me.
interested, you can talk to Ms. Fogarty and
Okay.
sign up. Anything else? Anything else?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now, any new business? Any new business to be transacted? Any other business for the good of the county? Adjournment. Ms. Evans? Mr. Hildebrand. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Opposed, carried. Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.